affected by fuel hikes as strike enters third week.
National Media Commission empowered to sanitize airwaves. And in Ivory Coast, President Ouattara reduces sentences of 3,100 prisoners. It's the 5th day of the new year. Hello, good evening. Many thanks for joining us here on News Hour, here on GBC 24 and also on GTV. I am Abdul Haji Mumin. My name is Shirley, and Clement Sam is our signer for tonight.
In our very first story, the strike by the country's rail workers is in its third week, with the corporation's coaches packed and rail travel hampered.
Workers of the Ghana Railway Company have refused to work due to concerns over unpaid salaries. An official of the company has told GBC 24 staff of the state-owned network have downed their tools to back their demands for the payment of their salaries, now in arrears of 3 months. The action by the rail workers has coincided with an increase in fuel prices, but the public relations officer of the company, Abraham Wood, says the increase has not affected rail travel or fares.
The railway is one of the most convenient and affordable means of transport for many people living in Accra. Accra is congested and many people spend hours in traffic commuting to and from work. This undoubtedly has an effect on work and the hours devoted to output, since trains are not likely to encounter traffic jams and are faster than cars and buses. That is often the choice of passengers where they exist. Some traders especially prefer the train since it is an easy route for them to transfer their goods from home to the market. But in December 2015, train services were suspended when workers of the Ghana Railway Company Limited withdrew their services nationwide. This was on the 18th of December last year after 3 months of unpaid salaries. The PRO of the company, Abraham Wood, told GBC 24 that the trains are parked at Nsawim in the Tema Harbour for safety reasons. He added that the staff will return to work when their salaries are paid.
We want our 3-month salary and the board as well. They want the board to be dissolved. We are not rendering our services to the public, so the trains are not running.
A trader at the train station at Kantamanto, Maxwell Ajiman, said although he pays the same fare, he prefers to board the train because it is faster. A regular passenger by train, Bernard Jani, was also worried about the strike and the state of some of the train.
We pay a lot of money, yet the trains are all in bad shape.
The government must intervene so the staff can get back to work.
Meanwhile, Mr. Abraham Wood explained that the train fares are not likely to be increased because the company is duty-bound to provide citizens with social services.
A meeting between organized labor and government over utility hikes has ended inconclusively.
A new date has therefore been set. Secretary General of the TUC, Kofi Asamoah, who disclosed this to Radio Ghana, said the TUC wants a withdrawal of the petroleum levy tax. He said the tax is undemocratic and was rushed through Parliament.
The TUC Secretary General believes a compromise will be reached at the next date. In other news, the criminal libel and seditious laws were repealed in July 2001. The repeal decriminalizes libel and gives citizens the option to use civil means to check the practice of journalism in Ghana.
But there are growing concerns about reportage and inappropriate content in sections of the media. Following from that, a new law has been passed by Parliament that empowers the National Media Commission to sanitize the airwaves. Under the law, electronic media operators risk closure if they fail to abide by the regulations of the NMC in disseminating content.
Well, the discussions include Article 162, Clause 3 and 4 of the 1992 Constitution, which states that there shall be no impediments to the establishment of private press or media, and in particular, there shall be no law requiring any person to obtain a license as a prerequisite to the establishment or operation of a newspaper, journal, or other media for mass communication or information.
Editors and publishers of newspapers and other institutions of the mass media shall not be subject to control or interference by government, nor shall they be penalized or harassed for the editorial opinions and views or the content of their publications.
Certainly, this new legislative instrument and Article 162, 3 and 4 of the Constitution are in disagreement. And we have on the phone line the chairman of the National Media Commission, Mr. Kwesi John Apinton, on the line, who will help us understand some of these issues. Thank you very much, sir, and many thanks for joining us here on GBC 24.
Well, thank you and good evening.
We can hardly hear you, sir. If you can just speak a bit louder for us. But thank you very much for joining us. First of all, why at this time and almost a decade and a half since the criminal libel law was deleted from the country?
Well, I cannot hear you very well myself too. I think there's a bit of a problem with the network, but let us try.
Well, I'm saying yes.
Yes, I can follow. So let me try and answer.
Okay.
The Content Standard Regulations law is nothing like trying to reintroduce criminal libel laws into the country. Not at all. In fact, the purpose of the regulation is to ensure that the airwaves are used for the purposes for which people establish broadcasting. Indeed, it is to establish and maintain standards in the content of public electronic communications network. There is no country in the world in which broadcasting is not regulated. And let us be clear that the Constitution allows the National Media Commission to make such laws that are required to fulfill its mandate. Now, the objections that are coming, indeed, we believe, come from a misreading or a misunderstanding of what the law sets out to do. In fact, throughout the world, content standard regulations are part of the fabric of the regulation of broadcasting. As you know, we cannot have a free-for-all on the airwaves. And what these regulations have sought to do for the first time is to bring international broadcasting standards together in one law so that we all have clarity. So we all know what broadcasters can do and cannot do. In fact, if you think about it, they are to create an enabling atmosphere in which broadcasters know exactly what it is not to stop them, but in fact to enable them to broadcast according to the best international standards. That's all it is about.
But the question, sir, has been that why at this time? Is it because there is a general belief now that probably standards have fallen? Do you share the same view?
Well, it is like this. This law has not suddenly sprung up in the public space. This law has been in the making for quite a long time now. Indeed, there's been, remember that the National Media Commission is made up of several representatives of several organizations. And we've all been discussing this for quite a long time now. But you are right to say that the media landscape of Ghana is dynamic. Over the last 20 years, we've gone from having 2 radio stations, 1 television station, to having more than 300 radio stations and 30 television stations and over. So definitely, the mechanism for regulating this vast industry will be changing. And we found it appropriate at this moment to bring in these standards so that we are all very clear that the industry is operating at the highest acceptable standard comparable to those anywhere else in the world. For example, the things in these regulations include the protection of minorities. What is so wrong about that? We have to ensure that our children are protected. We have, and by the way, the law itself says that the NMC must operate fairly. We are enjoined to operate fairly, so there are safeguards within the law itself. There are clear procedures about how we go about these things. So I don't think any media houses, any broadcasting outfits, or any journalist should feel in the least threatened.
Mr. John Appleton, let me just take you through this so you explain to us once again. Editors and publishers of newspapers and other institutions of the mass media shall not be subject to control or interference by government, nor shall they be penalized or harassed for their editorial opinions and views, or, and this is my own emphasis, the content of their publications. Now, how do you marry the two positions?
Yes, this is in no way an attempt to control what they say or even how they say. It is to set standards so that we all know what is allowed. You see, here is the nub of the whole argument. If it was not necessary to have any regulation at all, the Constitution would not set up the mechanisms for doing it. And so, from ab initio, from the beginning, we have to understand that the media landscape, there has to be some way of governing that landscape to ensure that the right things are done in the right manner. What the Constitution states is that you cannot go in and tell any editorial outfit, press, radio, or television, and the emerging communications platforms that this, you cannot say this, or you can only say that. But you can say certain things in the daytime, which which cannot be said. Let me rephrase it. We have thresholds. For example, there are things that can only be done in the night in order to protect minorities. That does not say that don't say it, but there's a time to do it. There are ways in which we must protect our national security. There are ways in which we must portray our culture. We are people, we are society. And these regulations are necessary for public safety and to ensure that those who consume broadcasting are not hurt in any way. Right. For public safety.
Right. Mr. John Appleton, just before we go, a very final question. The NMC has on several occasions been described as a toothless bulldog. With this new law, you believe the NMC now has some teeth that can bite?
Well, the teeth question is very interesting because on the one hand, the nation is worried that the NMC has no teeth, and now that we are bringing in the regulations that are necessary to ensure that we do not go wayward, it is being interpreted in another way. I will not go as far as to say that this is giving us teeth. The thing is that the broadcasting landscape is a complex one, and we are ensuring that people understand exactly what they must do once they have obtained a license. And this, in no way, is a threat to anybody. We are not becoming aggressive. We are rather saying that this is a resource that must be used for the development of the country. That's something like that.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. We hope to get you on another platform where we can talk in more detail about this particular issue. And we've been speaking to Mr. Kwesi John Appleton, who is the chairman of the National Media Commission, on the new law empowering the National Media Commission to monitor the content and keep standards of broadcasters in the country. Moving on to other news now. The Convention People's Party says it is fine-tuning its plans to be a strong force in the 2016 polls.
The daughter of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the founder and first president of Ghana, Samia Nkrumah, was on GBC 24's Current Affairs program, iBlogger, for some details of the party's plans.
It's a CPP that is speaking the truth on behalf of the people of Ghana, that is not afraid of mincing words, you know, a CPP that is determined to come to government so that the direction of the economy would change, would be different. No harsh conditions from the IMF. Kwame Nkrumah rejected them in the 60s, and we will reject them today if we are in government. We will ban poisonous seeds and food. We are going to be very strict. We will make sure there's no evasion of taxes by big multinationals. We will change the investment code. We will review all the agreements that are giving us next to nothing percentage for our natural resources. So we need courage and a great deal of honesty. And we'll make sure that people in every community participate and have a say in how budgets are spent. We will make sure that Ghana, what Ghana was meant to be, the way and manner in which Ghana came into being, because we would never have come into being without that mindset, that mindset for self-reliance, you know, an industrialized, productive Ghana with a good, skilled workforce, you know, competent Ghanaians who we listen to. Ghana would never have come into being without that mindset. Young people must understand that. And we will never prosper without the mindsets, the ideas of Kwame Nkrumah.
Now to Cape Coast. In line with the new Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 5, which deals with gender equality, Queen mothers are being empowered and their skills upgraded to live up to their responsibilities in their various jurisdictions.
This is an initiative to be replicated across the country.
The Queen Mother, or the mother figure in the various jurisdictions in the cultural setting of the ethnic African, is always being held in high esteem. In the Akan jurisdiction, they are the Imapenyi or Obahima. They are responsible for the training of young girls on their cultural and social roles, rights and responsibilities within the context of themselves, family, and their wider societies during puberty. Given their responsibility, the Queen Mother needs some skills and empowerment to be able to carry out these responsibilities. An organization, Smart Global Initiatives and Queen Mothers of Africa, toured the country, bringing Queen Mothers together to empower them to carry out their responsibilities. Ms. Susan Mensah is a specialist in gender and human rights education and executive director of Smart Global Initiatives.
So they possess skills they don't even know they have. Counseling skills, mentoring skills, entrepreneurial skills. A lot of the Queen Mothers are market women, and they have a lot of skills that they can pass on to a lot of the girls. We're going to harness it, package it in such a way that they can actually benefit from it, and the society as a whole can benefit from their skills.
A number of Queen Mothers who benefited from the program shared their experience with GBC 24. They were confident about carrying out their responsibilities better in their respective areas. The Obahima of Mankasim, Nana Amaemisa, the Obahima of Aguna Nyekrum traditional area, Nana Tuchua, and Nana Masam of Enyan Nkojo, all of the central region, shared their experience.
Ode yenkasena ye ahima fu yerikan. Ode ye kodure ye kamane ye kanye. Yen shep baby fakro de yerikasa yempo ya abano. Na yenkasa na yene entete na yamambre bia no wo ho a omboa no de nyenye no mbofra me hyase de yerika ihe so yenkokodam tibie no mu na gina bi no mu.
The Accra Regional Police Command has arrested 4 persons suspected to be involved in 2 separate robberies in Accra. 2 of the 4 are alleged to have robbed a shop, while the other 2, which included a military officer, were involved in a car snatching incident. This latest arrest comes in the wake of the launch of an operation to crack down on crime in the country, especially during the just-ended Christmas holidays.
In his briefing, ACP Timothy Bonga said, on the 28th of December 2015, 3 men armed with a locally manufactured pistol attacked and robbed a shop at Kwabenya in Accra. The 2 are 22-year-old Lester Mensah and Orton Quaton, a 23-year-old unemployed man, and 1 other who is currently on the run. They are alleged to have approached the shop owner under the pretext of buying shower gel.
As they waited to be attended to, they pointed the pistol at the shop owner, threatened to kill her, and forcibly tied her mouth and both hands with a sellotape. They packed the items from the shop into bags, after which they boarded a taxi cab with the registration number GW8845-15 and sped off. The victim, who was rescued by a passerby, contacted the police immediately, leading to the arrest of the 2.
The other robbery, which involved a military officer and his civilian friend, happened at Osu in Accra. They hired a taxi cab with a registration number GG717-15 from Tudu and snatched the car while they were on their way to Osu.
On reaching the self-traffic light, the military officer requested to use the washroom and directed the complainant to drive to the Independence Square. On arrival, the military officer visited the washroom as requested, leaving suspect Bafo Archer in the taxi cab together with the driver. From nowhere, the military officer returned with a pistol, pointed it at the driver, and ordered him out of the car. The 2 marched him to the washroom and tied him up. They searched and collected an amount of 20 Ghana cedis and a mobile phone from the driver.
According to ACP Timothy Bonga, all 4 suspects have accepted responsibility for their actions and are being arraigned for court.
You're still watching News Hour on GBC 24 and GTV. We have business coming up shortly. Please stay with us.
Good evening to you all. Let's do business. My name is Esther Edu. The flag of Ghana is flying high at Harvard University in the US, thanks to the exploits of Kasapreku, which has attracted students from the school to come and study the operations of the company. From Ghana, the students will move to South Africa.
It's 27 years since Kasapreku was established at Nungua in Accra. Currently, it is one of the few wholly owned Ghanaian companies that is making waves beyond the boundaries of the country, with a strong presence in the economic powerhouse in Africa, Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Togo, and South Africa. One of the flagship products of the company is Alomo Bitters, and it is found not only on shelves in Africa, but in Europe, USA, and Australia. News about the company has spread far and near, with the latest group of people to come over to the company as students from one of the world's foremost business school, Harvard. The mission of this Ivy League student is simple: to use Kasapreku as a case study. They say it is exciting to see one of their own, the chief executive of Kasapreku, Dr. Komnai J., who has acquired knowledge from Harvard to grow a company which is gradually getting a global appeal. The visit is the first time in the history of Harvard University to send students to Ghana to spend 10 days to do practical work. The first port of call at the Kasapreku factory was the blending department. This is where the ingredients of the product are mixed before it goes to the various production lines. So far, $3.5 million has been spent on the blending department by the company, so as to give customers quality and value for their money. Next was the bottling and production department line. Dr. Kobneje attributes the success of the company to research, innovation, science and technology.
In business, as you know, you need to roll your sleeves and make impossible possible. No excuses in business. When you set your mind to do something, yours is to move ahead and achieve your aim.
The leader of the delegation of the students, Professor Dina Pomeranz, indicated they are in Ghana to learn more about the exploits of Kasapreko.
The aim for us to visit Accra is for the students to learn about what it's like to do business in Africa, and in particular in Ghana, and in general to learn about how to listen to customers and actually understand customers instead of making assumptions and sitting in an office in Boston and just doing something on the desk.
Some of the students shared their views about the company.
We were very impressed both with the level of automation and the sort of the technological capabilities, but also with the friendliness and the knowledgeability of the staff.
I thought it was a wonderful tour today. I worked in a manufacturing plant before coming to school to pursue a graduate degree, and thought it was just a very professional environment. Obviously the automation, lines painted, safety standards, safety protocols being followed, just a really neat place to see, kind of magical how it all comes together. So really a privilege to be here.
Kasapreko started with 5 employees but can now boast of over 600 workers. Apart from the alcoholic beverages, Kasapreko has now ventured into the production of soft drinks and bottled water.
The government has directed the Controller and Accountant General's Department to complete the migration process of all subvented organizations onto the mechanized payroll by end of March 2016. As of December 2015, the Controller and Accountant General's Department had migrated 120 organizations. However, 20 of the subvented agencies are yet to be migrated. The department is therefore informing the remaining agencies whose salaries are paid outside the government of Ghana's mechanized payroll system that their subventions would cease in March 2016 if they fail to submit details of payroll information for migration onto the payroll. The policy decision is to effectively manage and exercise budgetary control over payroll costs. Now with some stock market news, the second day of trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange saw 5 equities registering price changes. Cal Bank inched up by 0.01 peswa to close trading at 1 Ghana cedi 0.1 peswa. Societe Generale was also up by 0.01 peswa to close at 81 peswas. Total gained 0.01 peswa to end trading at 5 Ghana cedis 11 peswas. UT Bank joined the gainers with 0.01 peswa to close the day's trading at 11 peswas. But Benzo L Palm Plantation, BOP, lost 0.02 peswas to close at 14 peswas. This pushed the GSE Composite Index up by 1.93 points to close trading at 1,994.59 points, while the year-to-date change stood at 0.08%. The cedi continued its good performance on the interbank market today by gaining against all the major trading currencies. And on the commodity market, light crude and cocoa increased by 18 cents and $5 respectively. However, gold dipped by $3.60 to close trading at $1,078.70. Next is the commodity board. Thanks for doing business with me. Have a good evening.
Time now for some health news. The Kwesimintim Government Hospital in Sekendi Takrade has received medical supplies to improve on their operations. The support was from Healing Hand organization based in the USA.
The Kwesimintim Government Hospital is one of the 4 main government hospitals in the Sekendi Takrade metropolis. The Kwesimintim Hospital also caters for a lot of patients from other adjoining districts of the region, thus making OPD attendance at the hospital as high as 400 a day. The hospital continues to grapple with a number of infrastructural and logistic challenges. For example, there is no pediatric ward in the hospital. The maternity ward has also become too small to cope with the number of deliveries that take place there. This is why Healing Hand organization, a non-governmental organization based in the US, has come to the aid of the hospital with a number of assorted medical supplies to improve upon the healthcare delivery at the hospital. The items include dental chairs, walkers, wheelchairs, laboratory equipment and medications. The Chief Executive Officer of the organization, Dr. Grace Ayensu Dankwa, said the gesture was to help ease the pressure on the hospital. The medical superintendent in charge of the hospital, Dr. Ernest Anderson, was grateful for the show of concern for the development of the hospital.
There is an outbreak of pneumococcal meningitis in Bunafo. The deadly bacteria strain has already claimed 8 lives with more than 40 people on admission. Although the situation seems to be under control, here is some education on the disease.
Meningitis is an inflammation of the lining around the brain and the spinal cord. Most severe cases are caused by bacteria. Pneumococcal meningitis occurs when the bacteria that has invaded the bloodstream moves across to infect the meninges, that is, the membranes that surround and protect the brain as well as the spinal cord. The meninges are filled with a liquid called cerebrospinal fluid, which is there to bathe the brain and cushion it against physical damage. Bacteria can multiply freely in the cerebrospinal fluid, which releases poisons causing inflammation and swelling in the meninges and the brain tissue itself. This increased pressure on the brain, producing symptoms such as headache, stiff neck, and dislike of bright lights. Babies may become irritable, may have a high-pitched or moaning cry, be stiff or floppy, and develop a bulging soft spot on their head. As the disease progresses, the patient becomes drowsy, confused, and delirious. They may have seizures and eventually lose consciousness. Many people carry the pneumococcal bacteria in their nose and throat and constantly pass them around by coughing and sneezing and close contact. Sometimes pneumococcal meningitis can develop from milder forms of infection such as earache. Anyone who gets pneumococcal meningitis needs to be treated in the hospital. Pneumococcal meningitis can be difficult to recognize in their early stages. Most people who catch pneumococcal meningitis recover, but it is among the most life-threatening major forms of meningitis. Survivors could be left with some type of after effect, which may be mild or temporary, but should improve with time. In children, damage to the brain and other parts of the nervous system can also cause learning difficulties and problems with movement as well as coordination. Behavioral and emotional effects are quite common. Children can be clingy and have temper tantrums. Adults can feel despondent and irritable. Hearing loss is probably the most common serious physical after effect.
Up next is international news.
In news from across our western border, Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara says he has reduced the sentences of 3,100 prisoners, including some held over bloody post-election unrest. About 3,000 people died in 5 months of violence in 2010 and 2011 in the West African nation following elections that saw Ouattara unseat then-President Laurent Gbagbo. He did not give a breakdown of how many prisoners would go free immediately and how many would remain behind bars. Ouattara, a former economist, won a second 5-year term by a landslide in October in the nation's first peaceful vote in more than a decade. He has been credited with reviving the economy of the world's leading cocoa producer, investing in huge infrastructure projects that have helped raise annual growth to around 9%. Women have been given roles in Guinea's new cabinet as the country seeks to rebuild its economy after being declared officially free of Ebola transmission. The 3 ministerial posts of finance, foreign affairs and mining are all being held by women, with 7 women making up the 31-strong cabinet in all. New Finance Minister Malado Kaba spent most of her career working on development at the European Commission. Last September's elections, which were disputed by opposition groups but declared valid by international observers, returned President Alpha Condé to power for a second term. And at least 17 bodies have been washed up on the Turkish coast in the latest tragedy to hit migrants and refugees trying to cross the sea to Greece. Their boats are thought to have capsized while crossing to the island of Lesbos. The bodies were found on beaches some 30 miles apart. Several were children. More than 1 million migrants across the Mediterranean in 2015, and the vast majority went from Turkey to Greece. According to the UN, 3,771 people were listed as dead or missing. One U.S. service member has been killed and 2 wounded during a special forces mission in Afghanistan's southern Helmand province. The forces were taking part in a counter-terrorism operation when they came under fire. US-led NATO combat forces left Afghanistan at the end of 2014, but training and special forces remain. Some 12,000 foreign soldiers are deployed as part of the NATO-led Resolute Support International Coalition, which is meant to underpin Afghan security forces. U.S. Special Forces have recently been engaged in tackling Taliban fighters in Helmand. Sports news follows right after this break.
That we talk sports on GBC 24. I'm Theophilus Sampa. This is in partnership with Obinko Pharmaceuticals Limited, producers of Lonat. The annual Glow Calf Awards is scheduled to come off on Wednesday in Lagos, Nigeria. Black Stars deputy captain Andre Ayew is facing competition from Ivorian midfielder Yaya Toure and Gabonese attacker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang for the topmost award. An executive committee member of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Albert Comey, says Andre Ayew stands tall.
2005 to date, outstanding African players have won the Glow Calf Awards. Samuel Eto'o of Cameroon emerged the winner of the inaugural edition in Abuja in 2005. Former captain of Cote d'Ivoire national team Didier Drogba clinched the 2006 edition in Ghana. In 2007, it was the turn of Malian international Frederick Kanouté. An executive committee member of the Ghana Football Association, Albert Comey, has spoken about the event.
I'm a bit down when I hear people say that they cannot win. I don't know why they say that, but for me, my prayer is that the gentleman win for Ghana to also enjoy in terms of the pride and the bragging rights and that kind of thing.
Other Ghanaians to be awarded in the various categories include Women Player of the Year, with Portia Boache scoring the winning goal in the 2015 All-African Games final to help Ghana win the cup. The Youth Player of the Year includes Manchester City's 18-year-old striker Yao Yeboah. Former Ghanaian international, the late Charles Kumi Jemfi, is in contention for the African Legend of the Year award. The Black Stars of Ghana face competition from African champions Cote d'Ivoire and the Under-17 World Champions Nigeria for National Team of the Year. The Black Queens are also in contention for the Women National Team of the Year.
The first Taekwondo Championship for children between the ages of 4 and 13 has taken place in Tema. The event, organized by Ghana's Para-Taekwondo World medalist Sharon Akwi, was to help identify the next world champions for Ghana. Children numbering 45 from 5 Taekwondo clubs converged on the Blink Body Gym in Spintex Tema Community 18. Aged between 4 and 13 years, these budding talents display strength and good understanding in sparring. It was to develop the next Ghanaian world medalist and to promote high level of Taekwondo practice in Ghana. Being the first time in the history of the Ghana Taekwondo Federation, we chanced on the brain behind the competition. Ghana's bronze medalist at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland, Sharon Akwi.
In 2020, I'm sure that's going to be my final fight in the ring or on the mat. I think I have the Olympic Games to attend in Tokyo in the year 2020, and after that very competition, I will resign. So I was looking at an opportunity where I would be able to unearth the kids for them to be able to, take after me.
Winners in each age category were presented with medals, trophies, and Taekwondo uniforms, among others. Some of the children identified will be given the opportunity to rub shoulders with their peers at the world stage. Organizers say individuals and corporate entities can come on board to support in order to make the competition an annual affair alongside organizing a para-championship. Let's go straight to Germany, where Pep Guardiola says he's leaving Bayern Munich to manage in England. The former Barcelona boss recently announced he would not extend his contract in Germany when it expires at the end of this season. Guardiola, 44-year-old, has been linked with Premier League clubs Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, and Arsenal. He says he wants to experience a new city and wants to work in England. Guardiola says he has received several offers from England but haven't signed anything yet. Bayern chief executive have suggested Guardiola already knew which club he would be joining next season. Former Real Madrid and Chelsea manager Carlo Ancelotti is taking over at Bayern, with Guardiola describing the Italian as a perfect choice. That's all for sports.
Hello and welcome to Entertainment in our segment of the news. My name is Micheline Taka. Abranti Amachidede is responding to treatment at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital after his accident on New Year's Day. The entertainment desk visited the legend at the hospital, but he declined to speak on camera. However, Abranti Amachidede said he is fine and needs the prayers and support of all Ghanaians. Today, the 5th of January, is his birthday. The entertainment desk wishes the Iron Boy of Ghana music a happy birthday and a speedy recovery. The people of Navrongo in the Upper East region have celebrated their annual Fowl Festival. This is an annual Thanksgiving event to commemorate the end of the harvest season and for good rains throughout the cropping season. This event is rich in the culture of people.
In his address, the Navropio, Dr. Augustine Atudiku Belinia Ada, said climate change has led to changes in rainfall patterns and less food production and livestock breeding, and this has in turn affected earnings. He cautioned against alcoholism, which promotes promiscuity among the youth. He said the effects of climate change informed the choice of the theme for the festival. The Navropio called for a collective effort to stop or reduce the effects of climate change, especially the likelihood of drought and famine. The Upper East Regional Minister James Zugatiga said man depends on the environment for survival and it behoves on all to protect it for posterity since it is the greatest resource. Mr. Zugatiga said the impact of climate change in the region is more pervasive, making it necessary for proper attention. The minister called on all to renew their commitment to conserve and preserve nature as their source of livelihood.
Our roles as traditional and local government authorities, faith and community-based organizations can do more to complement the efforts of government in containing global warming and hence climate change.
Festivals are part of Ghana's cultural heritage. They depict some historical events and serve as a rallying point for the people. At the annual Samanpid Festival of the People of Boko in the Upper East region, the challenges was to remain united for accelerated and sustained development.
Pid Festival is an annual traditional post-harvest Thanksgiving event for a successful farming season. This is also an opportunity to discuss other social and developmental issues affecting the people. Speaking on the theme, Sustaining Cultural Reforms for Unity and Socio-Economic Development of Kasug, a member of the Council of State for the Upper East region, David Adenzakanga, said culture is a determining factor of the identity of any group of people and must be kept alive and sustained. Mr. Kanga, who was a former deputy EC chairman, advised Ghanaians not to put impediments in the way of the EC as it conducts the 2016 general elections. The Upper East Regional Minister, James Zugatiga, said a culture worth sustaining is one that rallies people together and promotes dialogue, reconciliation, development and peace building. He said the promotion of culture for development is non-negotiable in the country's development paradigm. He reminded them that development can only be achieved when there is peace.
You've been watching News Hour on your all-news channel GBC 24 and GTV. Before we go, let's take a look at the stories that made headlines. It's been 3 weeks since the country's rail workers embarked on a strike, resulting in the disruption of rail travel in the country. Workers of the Ghana Railway Company's refusal to work is due to concerns over unpaid salaries. Reports say the workers have downed their tools to back their demands for the payment of their salaries, now in arrears of 3 months.
In July 2001, the criminal libel and seditious laws were repealed. The move was to decriminalize libel and give citizens the option to use civil means to check the practice of journalism in Ghana. But there are growing concerns about reportage and inappropriate content in sections of the media. It is to address these concerns that Parliament has passed a law empowering the National Media Commission to sanitize the airwaves.
And in Ivory Coast, President Alassane Ouattara has reduced the sentences of 3,100 prisoners, including some held over the bloody post-election unrest. About 3,000 people died in 5 months of violence in 2010 to 2011 in the West African nation following elections that saw Ouattara unseat the then President Laurent Gbagbo.
To catch up on more news, you can get to us at 10:30 when we bring you News Tonight. Have a good night.
Thank you for